Welcome back to Balance Unfiltered. I'm your host, Iesha, and I'm so grateful you're here with me today. I'm excited to share this episode because it helps to bridge the gap between neurodivergence and trauma. It helps it to bring full circle. The topic that we're discussing is often misunderstood and incredibly important. We're discussing the connection between neurodivergence and trauma. We're talking about how they shape our lived experiences, where they overlap, and why understanding both is crucial for healing, self awareness, and compassionate support. So, whether you're neurodivergent yourself, love someone who is, or you're navigating trauma recovery, my hope is that this episode will offer you clarity, validation, and encouragement. And be sure to share it with someone you love. Let's begin with answering the question, what is neurodivergence? The term neurodivergence was coined by the autism rights activist Kasian Asasu Masu and popularized by the sociologist Judy Singer. It's an umbrella term that describes anyone whose brain processes, learns, or behaves differently from what is considered typical or normal by societal standards. Neurodivergence is not a flaw or disorder. It is naturally a variation of how the brain functions. And this can include autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, Tourette's, sensory processing differences, or anything that impacts cognitive functioning like chronic stress, PTSD, or OCD. So, experts have estimated that 1 in 5 people, or 20% of the population, are neurodivergent. So, that means 1 in 5 of us. Think about that for a moment. Neurodivergence isn't rare, it's a part of the human spectrum, and sometimes, believe it or not, you won't even notice it. It's important to note that neurodivergence exists on a spectrum, not just between diagnostic labels, but how individuals experience the world. Every neurodivergent person is different. Some may have support needs that are visible, while other people may appear to just be coping just fine externally, but are masking their true selves to fit in. And we'll talk about masking in a little bit. But for right now, let's talk about trauma. Trauma is not just what happens to you, it's what happens inside you as a result of overwhelming external experiences. Trauma occurs when there's an inability to cope and the body stores that stress in our nervous system. Trauma can result from a myriad of things, and some of them include different events like accidents, assault, or natural disasters, chronic stressors like emotional neglect, bullying, or systemic oppression, developmental or relational trauma in early childhood, or even medical trauma, especially for neurodivergent individuals whose sensory needs are often dismissed. Trauma leaves a psychological imprint and it changes the way we interpret safety, how we relate to our bodies, and how we navigate the world. For many people, especially those who are neurodivergent, trauma and nervous system dysregulation are constant companions, so they correlate. But let's explore the intersection of neurodivergence and trauma because this is where a lot of misunderstanding and mislabeling happens. Neurodivergent individuals often experience higher rates of trauma across their lifetime. But here are 4 reasons why. Now, there can be many reasons why, but here are 4 in particular that I've witnessed. Masking and social rejection will be number 1. Many neurodivergent people learn to hide their true selves just to fit in, and this act is called masking. This takes a psychological toll over time and often leads to complex trauma. Number 2, sensory overwhelm. In spaces that are not designed with neurodivergent people in mind, sensory input can feel threatening or even painful. And over time, repeated sensory trauma can lead to shutdown, meltdowns, anxiety, or even hypervigilance. Number three, misdiagnosis and medical trauma. And then this is a big one. They're all big, but this is even heavier. Neurodivergent people, especially girls, women, and BIPOC individuals, are often misunderstood, undiagnosed, or mislabeled. And for that reason alone, the diagnostic process itself can be invalidating or traumatic. And lastly, number four, educational and systemic trauma. Many neurodivergent people face punishment for things they can't control, and oftentimes we see this in children, even in schools or their homes. And this could look like them being punished for the need to stim, or not making eye contact, or needing more time to process instructions. And this one you see a lot during transitions and change of plans. Trauma and neurodivergence are often confused because they can look similar on the outside. And this could look like disassociation, so emotional dysregulation, shutdowns, meltdowns, and even sensory avoidance. But the roots and causes are different. And for those of us who are both neurodivergent and trauma survivors, the impact is kind of layered. The nervous system is constantly working overtime to make sense of the world that doesn't really feel safe or accepting. So, how do we bridge the gap between neurodivergence and trauma? How can we start creating a world and healing spaces that affirm neurodivergent experiences and are trauma informed simultaneously? We can begin by number one, acknowledging that both neurodivergence and trauma shape our nervous systems. Our ability to regulate, to feel safe, and to stay present is filtered through our lived experiences and how our brains are wired. We could also begin by shifting from pathologizing to understanding. Neurodivergence is not a disorder to be fixed, it's simply a way of being. And when we stop framing neurodivergent traits as deficits, then we allow people to show up more fully and safely. We could also begin by offering choices. We can be flexible and offer consent, whether it's in a classroom, at school, a yoga class, a workplace, or a therapy session. Neurodivergence and trauma impacted people need options that allow them to participate in ways that work for them and their bodies, not necessarily like everyone else. And then we can also begin by embracing regulation practices that are sensory safe and accessible. And that could mean breath work with visual cues, movement that supports stimming, or grounding techniques that don't really require stillness or silence. So, with that being said, let's take a moment here to land in our bodies with a short, gentle, and inclusive practice. And you can practice this wherever you are, any time of day, no matter where. So, wherever you are, take a deep inhale through the nose and exhale. Begin by noticing one thing you can see and just taking that in gently. Close the eyes here or just soften the gaze. And begin to notice one thing you feel. Maybe it's the chair beneath you or your feet softly planted on the ground. Notice one thing you can hear. No need to change anything. Just listen. And if it's cozy for you, place your hands somewhere on your body, whether your heart space, maybe your arms, your legs, or even hand in hand, and feel that contact. And lastly, I invite you to offer yourself an affirmation here. And you can choose your own affirmation, or perhaps you can choose one of these that I offer to you. And you might say to yourself, my brain works differently, and that's okay. I'm allowed to feel overwhelmed and still be whole. I deserve spaces that honor me and see all of me. Take a deep breath here, in through the nose. Exhale, let it go. If your eyes are closed, perhaps opening the eyes here, softly taking in the space around you. If you've ever felt like your brain works differently, like the world moves too fast or asks too much of you, then please know that you are not broken. You are not alone. You are not too much. Whether you identify as neurodivergent, a trauma survivor, or both, you deserve healing spaces that honor you, your uniqueness, and your full story. My hope with this episode is to begin bridging the understanding between these two complex yet beautiful and often misunderstood parts of the human experiences. If you're looking for a space to practice mindfulness and yoga virtually while in the comfort of your own space, or if you're looking for a practice that centers you and your needs, I invite you to join Balance and Birch Wellness Center online. You can find more information at www.balanceandbirch.com. And until next time, be well and go in peace.